There's a video from the Boston Children's Hospital that claims that children can know that they are transgender from the moment they're born. Listen to this.
A child will often know that they are transgender from the moment that they have any ability to express themselves, and parents will often tell us this. We have parents who tell us that their kids, they knew from the minute they were born practically, and actions like refusing to get a haircut or
Goes on from there.
Yeah,
right.
you know, it's interesting. But to me, a kid refusing to get a haircut is kind of a kid just
kind of
being
normal.
kind of a bratty
Yeah.
kid. Like, no,
Yeah, I
it
don't know what
seems to
that
be,
means.
But now somehow we're automatically assuming a child must be transgender if they don't want to get a haircut, or maybe they don't want to wear a dress one day, or whatever it may be. Who knows? But news radio talk show host, there we go, Simon Conway is with us to try to make sense of the nonsensical. Simon,
right.
Your thoughts here?
Well, first of all, confession time. There was quite a long period of my life when I did not and would not get a haircut. I'm just pointing that out. I just became a grandpa, by the way, third time.
Congratulations.
Little boy in Florida. He has not expressed to us in any way whatsoever that he thinks is a girl. And the thing I'm most concerned about is that the person on that video is a doctor. That's the thing that bothers me the most. Do no harm, I believe they have to swear to.
Right.
And I'm not sure that you go down this road that you're not doing harm.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are bothered by that. Even if you don't care what somebody's gender identity is, the fact that people in positions of power and authority are imposing certain views on kids that just want to play, kids that just want to go out and do normal kid stuff, regardless of what their biological or gender identity is. And then you have things like the Pittsburgh Children's Hospital promoting the use of puberty blockers in young kids. Listen to this, Simon.
Puberty blockers are basically a medication that says, hey, let's just put a pause on puberty. And that can be really beneficial for younger kids who have already started the puberty process, who either might go through a lot of psychological distress as they go through puberty if they're struggling with gender dysphoria, or for somebody who's saying, hey, I'm not really sure if I feel comfortable in my body or what gender I truly identify with.
Simon, this drives me crazy because it's one thing. Well, go ahead.
No, it's just when you hear that, and I think of everything they're saying is, well, right around the time that a kid is going through puberty, there's so much confusion. You don't know what's going on with your body.
So now we're going to stop that natural process.
Or assume that the confusion is the result of anything other than going through puberty.
Right. Simon.
Right. My daughter, who just gave birth, right, that one, she went through a period of about 18 months where she was a tomboy, right? She would only wear jeans or she cut her hair short. It's a normal process. She's the most girly girl that we have in our family now. Most of these things resolve themselves. But yeah, when you're an adult, very key word, you can make any decision you want to make about your life, and I don't care. These are children. We're messing with their chemical makeup of their bodies, puberty blockers. I mean, we barely let these people. Well, you can't vote for the president of the United States until you're 18. But heck, you can make a decision about what gender you are.
That's right.
You can't now apparently have certain firearms until you're 21, but you can make a decision about what gender you are. This is absolutely nuts. And sooner or later, someone's going to turn around and sue a doctor in a hospital, and they're going to win millions and millions of dollars, and I will be in the front row cheering.
As well as they should. I've got a nephew who wanted boots like his sister had when he was little. They were pink. He told me about a new doll that he got, a G.I. Joe Barbie. Anyway, so this guy became an Army Ranger, you know, is now married with 2 kids. So, I mean, it's to act upon these things in the wrong way, with the wrong intention, that could have permanent effects. That's what scares me about these things. Well, puberty blockers, That's not good.
You're messing with your hormones all over the place. Go
Right.
ahead, Simon.
It's not just that. We have very young kids having double mastectomies when they're minors. So there's parental problems, there's doctor problems, there's hospital problems. This just should not happen.
Right.
There's no ifs, buts, or maybes. This absolutely should be outlawed.
Sorry,
Absolutely.
Simon. I agree with you. Sorry about interrupting you. We've got to run, but thank you so much, Simon Conway. Always a pleasure talking to you.